Hi there! In the previous video you saw everything about this Lexus LFA that I finished in 2017. Now it's 2020 and the Lexus LFA in white is finished. The old one has 609 parts while the new one has 723. How come? Well, that's what you're going to see in this video. We're going to go into the nerdy details of the improvements that have happened over the past couple of years due to new parts and me having more than a week of actually building the car. We are starting at the front and the lower grille. You can see the opening in the black version is only 4 wide, while it is slightly more in the white version, and it needs to be slightly more in order to be more accurate to the real model. You can especially see it here with how the edge of this little part down here aligns with the nose. So that is made with this little mock-up here, and you can see for the black version it's just mounted directly on the plate below, while on the white version it's mounted a stud back. So on this black one, which is standing a little further back, allowing me to open the lower grille just a little more than on the black one, and that is achieved by building into the bodywork and taking up more space or real estate inside of the car. Tiny detail, but I think it really adds to the front fascia. Moving out to the sides, you can see there is a difference here in the corner. On the new one I have a slight curve right there going toward the wheel, while in the old one I just have this little plate up here in the corner in order to simulate curvature. So the main difference is here in the front quarter panels, where you can see this new little triangle there. It's a tiny difference, but it still adds to the visual impact of the car. Another difference is the color of the headlight. It's now transparent light blue because that better simulates the kind of color that you could see when people were reviewing the LFA, especially in the Top Gear review where they had a white LFA and you could really see this light bluish sheen. Another silly detail that really perhaps was more of a bother than it was worth is how the curvature of the hood closes toward the headlight. In the old model I used this curved 1x2 piece in order to close this little gap here, and in the new model I'm using a combination of T-slopes, so it kind of looks like this. And as you can see, I had to mount the rear T-slope on this minifig tool like that in order to not go into the space that is occupied by the front wheels. I'm now having black windscreens and windows on the white model, and that's really more of a necessity, because if I was using transparent black in the white model, then I can't really hide that these white parts here in the side are white instead of what would otherwise be black. So it simply looks better to have it in all black rather than having some transparent material in the white car. Moving toward the side of the model, there's not really been that much change up here, nor right here. The big changes have been down here, on the lower side of the side door. Please note 2 things. One, that we have a flat area right here, and that when we are curving in order to make this side scoop here, it's just with a single hinge giving you this gap right there. Moving on to the white car, you can see that this area here is no longer completely flat, and we have a gentle curve going toward the intake. First of all, the non-flat area, it was flat before like this, has just this single little indent with a tile, and that is made using a lot of snotty pieces here on the other side. It's just to break up this flat area that we had. And in order to make the gentle curvature here, instead of having just a single hinge like in the black car, hinging like this, we are having a lot of small sections. So this is how the white car is constructed. You curve it like this, bending the Lego pieces a bit, so you get a lot of smaller gaps, and that you get by using Technic pins holding everything together. And that is why it has this gentle curve that you can see right here. And you can even push it just a little bit, but it's all held together by this flag here at the side. That is also something that took way too long to figure out, but I like this new design. Moving on to the back, and here it's where it's really getting crazy, because let's just start with something small like the exhaust pipes. The LFA has this very characteristic 3-pipe design, and it always bothered me with the black model that I had a greater gap here between the upper and lower layer. See the gap right here? Than between the 2 pipes in the top. For the new model, I have made the gaps be the same in all of the triangle, and that is achieved by using Technic parts. So I can actually turn this so you can really see how it's designed. So it's just using Technic lift arms, turning this part right here, makes it so that they all have the same almost zero gap between them, and that is why the exhaust pipes are nicely grouped together there. Going to the rest of the rear ends, this is where it gets crazy, and I have created full models of these rear ends in multicolor because, well, frankly, I ran out of parts in the right colors, but you can really see the difference here. And I'm going to break these up so that you can really see what's happening. So let's first see the most obvious things. That is, the old design was flat, while the new one is rounded. You can kind of see the curvature of the white parts, and the rear lights are also curved just slightly. So that's 2 things. And then we have the above the exhaust, we have it just indenting a bit up. Didn't have that in the black version. The radiators are more correctly designed on the new one, whereas in the old one I just used radiator pieces all the way in there. We have the brake light, the third brake light, which is thin. You can really see it here on the car, compared to the much thicker brake light here on the old model. I'm using rounded pieces here on top of the rear lights because that's better corresponding to the real car, whereas I tried to add curvature using these parts in the old design. You can see the curvature above the rear wheels is now more gentle sloped in the new model using these hinge pieces, compared to this pretty basic design of the old one. I have a nice triangle here in the old one in order to show you how the curvature around the rear wheels is supposed to happen, and on the new one I'm using a triangle coming from the plates. And then, of course, lastly I have the intakes being this rounded part in the old car, whereas they are more, they're completely straight in the new one, and that is also more accurate. So let's break down this new model here in order to see how it is built. It's not so much fun to break down the old one because you can really see here how that is constructed. It's not that difficult. So let's start from the top. In order to have these mounted like that without protruding into the space of the wheels that would go down here, I have this part here actually mounted on a hinge. So you can see the hinge here. Down there, that hinge will always be 90 degrees, so there's not really that much going on with that. This plate here is not clicked completely onto the rear light, and that is also on purpose in order to have the right angle. You can see the angle, oops, right here. Then we have this little part section above the rear wheels, which are hinged as well. And when we go to the rear light, you can see they are hinged like this, so they actually move to the right angle, like that. And in order to have this plate above the rear light up here, we have to give space right above here where we're angling the rear light. So that had to be added like this. in order to work properly. Now, the rear, the third light here is a panel, so I'm using a flag on top of it in order to have this half plate thick plate on top. And down here we have the rear light, which is, as I mentioned, a panel in dark trans red. So, going further down, you can see that the corner here for the white section is meeting the slope nature of the rear light, and that is done by having this kind of building sideways up here. And in order to have these 1x3 and 1x2 tiles meet, I have simply had a single plate holding this 1x2 so that they can meet flush to each other. Now, the radiators are held in place almost using nothing, and they are just this little construction here. In order to have the curvature of this section down here, I'm using, let's break it up, this kind of dual hinged assembly. So this allows you to both turn at a right angle and also to adjust the length in order to have just the right section put in here. Let's take it out and see what else is going on. Finally, we have the section here in the middle being, let's take this out and look at this section like this. So it's just plates and bricks held sidewards and upwards. And down here toward the bottom we have a simple hinge being a upside down plate holding everything in place, and that's how you get the curvature through all of the rear part of the car. And yes, this took months to figure out and how to do correctly, but I'm satisfied with this final result, even though it is not the sturdiest of designs. So you really also have to watch out and take it easy when you get to this part of the building instructions. So that is it for all of the nerdy details of the Lexus LFA, the white version, and how it compares to the old one. For the next video I'm also going to have a black and white Lexus, because that's where we are going to see the Lexus CT200H. So quite a departure from the LFA, but this model here actually took me even longer to finish because it started already in 2015. And I hope that is going to be a lot of fun, because this is my very own car and we are going to see a good breakdown of this car, all of the details in the next video. So until then, have fun, enjoy the building instructions, and I see you next time.